Can you just say your name into the mic?
Charles Mclellan.
I know I've asked you that a few times, but Charles, what's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory, I have to think about it. It was probably when my dad was ship, and he had me sit up buying so I'd not bother anything.
How old do you think you were when that happened?
Probably 2 or 3.
Wow, that's quite a while ago. Why do you think that stayed with you?
Well, I just think my mother let me forget about it. My dad died,
Okay.
and when I was 6, and my mother always reminded me about my dad.
Well, at least you have some memories too with him. So are a lot of your earliest memories still with your dad?
Oh yeah, I can still remember a lot with him, because he had problems, and sometimes and sometimes he didn't. And, he worked with various things in town when he could, but a lot of times he couldn't do anything. Sometimes he would work with optical things, and sometimes he just would have to stay home and be sick.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the home you grew up in and what that was like?
Well, let's see. I started here in this area.
Bountiful?
Bountiful.
Okay.
For 2 years.
Okay.
And then, my dad and mother owned a house in Payson, and then they moved to Payson. I had been there a little bit in between because my grandfather lived there, and sometimes my mother would take me there.
Okay. About how old were you, do you think, when you moved to Payson?
2.
Oh, so you're pretty young.
Maybe 3.
Okay. And is that where you grew up for most of your childhood then, was down in Payson?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the neighborhood like down there?
It was, I can remember right short after when they, what do you call it? The Chinese attached the war.
Oh, the World War II?
World War II.
When Pearl Harbor happened?
Uh-huh.
How old were you when that happened?
Probably maybe 4 or 6.
Oh, so you're pretty young.
Yeah, I was pretty young.
When the war broke out. Was your family involved in the war at all?
No, because my dad had the wrong kind of problems, and he was never able to do anything.
How did that affect the neighborhood around you when the war broke out?
The first thing I remember is my aunt came over and pounded on our door and cursed the people who were starting the war. Because it was actually in. They'd had problems before, but actually the thing that affected us was Honolulu, because there was some kind of attack there.
That makes sense. When you were young, who were your role models and your heroes?
I didn't really have a lot of things like that. We had a well, we had two groups who tried to be like the people that were in the war, and so we got together with our weapons, which were not very much weapons, and we just fought against each other in there. And actually, there were two of them, two sons, and each one had a group, and I belonged in one of the groups, and another bunch were in the other group, and we'd fight against each other.
With like BB guns or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Was this like your friends as a kid?
Yeah.
So when you were in school, what did you want to do when you grew up?
When I grew up, I was mostly interested in just destroying things.
Okay.
Because I had a bicycle, and I learned how to do some things. Actually, my dad died, and the guy in town that did everything that was for people, and I'm talking about everything from eating ice cream to getting things that you would have to use to fix you. All those things. He kind of got to know me because he had been a real friend with my dad. My dad had died.
Okay.
And so he gave me just about anything I wanted, and I learned a lot of things about some of the explosions and things that kids shouldn't know anything about. But if I told him what I wanted, he'd see that I got it. And so I had everything that blew up from whatever.
So as a kid, you got to make your own bombs and experiment with things?
Yeah, I used to go up the canyon.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
I don't think it did much for me. It slowed me down when I was when I finally got in college, and when I wanted to do some of the same things. They thought it was crazy for me to look for some of the things that I use.
Oh, that's funny. Did you? Was there anything notable or funny that you blew up?
Well, I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was fun.
Thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any traditions or customs that were special to you as a family?
Well, I couldn't go to. My dad had been. What do you call him? At church,
The bishop?
Bishop.
Yeah,
He
you
was the
mentioned.
bishop.
Yeah.
And so when he was there, he used to take me to sit next to him, so I wouldn't cause problems.
Did you sit up on the front by him?
Yeah.
Were you a rambunctious child?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Well, anything you want to share? Anything else about your upbringing before we move into your career and life choices?
I don't think so. I just loved things that blew up.
That's
And,
great.
yeah, and I just had all kinds of things, including I like to even steal the things out of the that they used in you know, people that really used the things that exploded.
Like out of like mechanics shops or?
Well, no. I used to do that when I got to high school. I made all kinds of things.
Yep, pretty good at making explosives.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. So when you got older, I guess, what was your first job?
Let's see what. Well, right after I got out of high school, I think most of the kids that saw me you know, later in life, just always knew that I blew up everything.
You had a reputation for
Yeah.
being the explosives guy.
Well, yeah, a lot of times I'd blow things up in what would you call it? In school, you know.
Oh, during school.
Yeah, in the school place, you know, where there's things that you
In the
go to the
court.
bathroom.
Oh, in the bathroom.
I had often destroyed a lot of things that the kids laughed about, and the teachers hated, but they didn't know I did it.
So you got away. Did you ever get caught?
No.
That's pretty good. So you'd hide like little explosives in the bathroom or something.
Yeah. But by the time I got out of high school, I started going to, let's see what happened. I started going to school, let's see, traveling to BYU.
BYU is where you went to college.
Mm-hmm.
What did you study there?
Well, I started studying things that were dangerous. I was just interested in that kind of stuff.
Like chemistry and
Yeah.
engineering, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I'd only been there, I was just in the second year there. By then I'd made a lot of people afraid because I loved things that they didn't love, and really, you know, some of the people that were teaching, and they thought I was an idiot. But I took a class and I didn't like it. And he told me that he didn't like it. That was on what do you call it? Church. Because you know he always had church.
Was this like an institute class?
Yeah, it was an institute class.
Got it.
Okay, so I just remember I made a couple of comments in that thing, and he told me he didn't like that and I had to quit it.
He didn't like what you were asking him?
Yeah, no, he didn't like what I said about some of the things he wanted to do. And so I just simply quit going to his class. And he couldn't get me to go to his class. And I said, I'm not going there. I don't like you.
How do you take that?
He gave me, let's see, about the lowest grade that they can give you at the end, but he didn't dare he didn't dare cut me off.
He didn't fail you?
He couldn't give me a Z, a
F?
Yeah, because I just told him I didn't like him and I wasn't coming. And so he gave me a D. And that was credit. But it was right after that our bishop at home he had said some words about going on missions. And so I took another class in there from somebody else, and the way they put it, I thought, you know, this is really important. And so I went to the town guy who happened to be the bishop there at that time, because my dad was already dead.
Yeah.
But I said, what do I have to do to go on a mission? And he says, well, I'll fix it. And so he got me a mission. It turned out to be Germany.
Wow.
And so I went to Germany for actually 2.5 years.
How was that? Because that must have been, you know, relatively short after the war.
It was, right after the war.
What was that like?
They put me on an area down there where the people were all changed. In other words, they had been the people there had been put in order. The United States, what the United States was with that one group in the South, they didn't do the same things that the Russians did.
Right.
What they did down there was help them to become able to do things.
Help them become independent again.
Yeah. And so that's where it was.
So you're in West Germany.
Mm-hmm. West Germany.
What was the economic situation like? Did were people poor? Were they rebuilding?
Oh, most of them were pretty nice. There were a couple of that actually wanted to do us in, and tried to get me and my companion to go to a situation where he could kill us. But in doing that, we just talked to him about it, and we didn't realize he was trying to kill us. But what he did is he decided whether we were okay.
How was he trying to kill you?
Well, he told us about it afterwards.
Oh, he said it. He told you his plan after.
And he says, you guys are really all right.
So he must have had a different idea of what you were.
Of what that was all about. So then I went through the rest of that for a year and a half. Let's see, how would you say that? I came to know at one place right after the first couple of months, a girl who was on the way, who was coming to America, and I couldn't talk to her about anything because I couldn't speak German at that time, and she said she thought I was very funny, but she was going to the United States, and so anyway, what I did there was I said, there's this girl that's coming to the United States, and she's going to be not far from you, to my mother.
Yeah.
And I said, she can't speak English. And I don't know how she's going to get along, so I said, you need to take care of her. And see what you can do to help her. And when I got home, which was 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years later, my mother really liked her.
They become friends.
And became, and she actually could now speak English, and she spoke just about like my little sister.
And you could speak German at that point too.
Yeah, I could use German at that point. I learned more German after that. I could speak German then, but what I did was, after a while, I just married her.
Well, that was my next question, was how'd you meet your wife? So,
so by then, I wasn't feeling like destroying everything. by then, I just really liked the Germans, and I had learned to like them, and when I met her, I was just surprised because she can now speak English.
Must have been a shock.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, after a while, because she just was with my mother and with my sister, and visited them quite often with them. And we learned to like it. She had come over with the idea of marrying somebody else that was German, because she had knew somebody from that. But she had decided she didn't like him, and so we wound up getting married. But
So-
it was quite a while after that. It was we actually got married during a BYU when I was going back, because I was going back to BYU, and I'd already decided that what I was going to do was teach German.
Oh, nice. So you kind of, after your mission, decided you wanted to teach German at BYU?
Yeah. Well, what I had done is fix that so that I, instead of doing some of the other things that I had followed before, I just followed different things, and I actually was trying to join the Army, but what I decided was that I didn't want, so there were a whole bunch of them at that time that were joining the Army, and that in a way that would give them a minimal amount of time that they had to stay there.
Right.
And I decided I wasn't going to do that. I was going to just do whatever they wanted to do and do whatever I could.
Right.
And so in the process, I didn't join those things. I didn't go back to be tested. I just said I will go to the Army when they call me, and I'm not going to tell them what I want to do. And but then see, this other thing that happened was I married my wife, and actually it was really slow because everybody that wanted to join the Army, they wanted to get out of it. Basically, they were.
I'm just having an audio issue. Keep going. Those are just going to pick up your voice a little because the mic here died.
Oh, they were. They were joining the Army or something else. One of fighting things.
Uh-huh.
And so I just said, well, I'm just going to go and I'll do whatever they ask me to do. Well, they didn't ask me to do anything for a long time because they had too many people that were just joining up to get done.
Right.
And so by then I was married and I had 2 kids. That's how long it took.
Before you joined the Army?
Well, before they
Before
finally
you
called
got out.
me in.
Got it.
They called me in to test me. So I went in and I tested and filled their stuff, and then they found out that I had a wife and 2 children. And they said, so they just gave me the right to not to join right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so they, because it had something to do with money.
Mm.
But anyway, they didn't take me. And so that's when, by then I had finished BYU. and I actually had gone to teach school.
Where were you teaching at?
You know, I have a problem. You know why my problem is? My problem is that I had some damage done after not very long ago, and so I have trouble remembering everything.
That's okay. But you were teaching German.
But I was teaching German, and then I decided that I wanted to learn to do things better.
Okay.
And so I went to, I got an opportunity to go to school. I hadn't finished everything with BYU, but I got a chance to go for a year to not Texas.
You were traveling somewhere else?
Yeah, another place. Come on, it's
Somewhere in the U.S.?
yeah. It's, oh, come on, it's big.
Alaska?
No.
California?
No.
New-
I wound up going to California, but I went to this other place for a
Okay.
year.
Let's see. It's a big state. So ended up traveling to another state somewhere.
Another state.
Is it by the ocean?
And what they did is they taught us a lot of things about German, about teaching German, and then I also, after that, got the right to go to Germany and learn to teach German better. My wife didn't get a chance to go then. She had to stay home with her 2 kids. But I went over to Germany then and was trained in doing a better job in German.
So you got pretty good at speaking German over
yeah.
the years.
Yeah, and then at the end of that, I got an opportunity to choose a place I wanted to go, and I chose to go to San Jose.
So that's when you went to California after Germany.
And my wife, so I came back, and my wife and kids, by then, we all moved to San Jose.
So how old were your kids when that happened? Were they younger?
Yeah.
So did they grow up most of their childhood in San Jose?
Yeah. Was the oldest ones. See, I had 9 kids, but the oldest 3 were born here.
Okay.
Not here, but
Born here in Utah.
And so they. But we went up there, and so we had like 3 kids, I think, when we were there, and then all the rest of them just were born there and grew up there. And, then let's see. I what I did was I taught school for, let's see, it was 36 years.
Wow.
But during that time, I stopped teaching when they wanted to do some things I thought was not good for people. And at that point, I took a job. I got another job working for electrical things.
Oh, nice.
Because I hadn't taught that whole time. I taught that for how many years? About half of my 36 years. And the last part of it, they found out that I also knew how to do electronics, and had given me a new thing, because that's when this kind of stuff was all starting out.
All the cell phones, computers, all that was coming up.
And so they just switched me over there and took me out of doing German.
So what were some of your proudest moments as a parent or grandparent?
As a parent or a grandparent, well, probably the best of them was when I was I became, let's see, first of all, being in charge of a church.
Were you a bishop?
Yeah. And I was in there 4 years, and they redid me to work with what do you call it? I worked for, let's see, 4.5 years. Instead of being the bishop, I was
like the counselor?
Let's see. Oh, come on, what is it? Yeah, I know this. If I hadn't had a problem, I'm still not 100%.
That's okay.
But
so were you were the bishop for four?
I was the bishop for about 4 years, and then they
you had a new calling.
Put me in with. There are 3 of them in church, and they run the church and take care of the bishops. And
yeah, I think you're one of the counselors.
Yeah, I was one of the counselors.
Yeah.
Okay, and after 4 years, I became the counselor, and for 9 years.
Wow. And was that in California?
Uh-huh.
And that's why you were raising your kids?
Why? No. Well, I did whatever I could to take care of the system, because you got a lot of people, and a lot of people you got to take care of,
Yeah.
and so I did that for 9 more years,
Wow.
and then I got my wife, and we went on a mission to Germany.
Oh wow. Together as a couple.
Uh,
So what type of values did you try and teach your children and younger generations?
to go to church and to be good.
Those are some good values. How would you say society has changed the most since you were a kid, and what do you think about these changes?
I don't know, I look at things quite different than the way so many of the kids go now. But so many of the kids have the same ideas about things that I had, so I really can't. You know, I would do what I could to teach kids to do things right, and to you know, do what they need to do at church, and talk about, you know, look for ways not to make money, but to help people.
Do you feel like when you were younger, society was more apt to help their neighbors, and do you feel like that's changed?
Sometimes I wish I could get people to take another look at church and what it's all about, and what, you know, and be more interested in trying to do what the Lord wants you to do.
What would you say, what was the happiest time in your life?
Happiest time? Probably after I got married.
That's a good answer. If you could give one, you know, piece of advice to your younger self, what would you tell him?
Serve the Lord. Just do what you are. Just take what you're supposed to do in church, because it's going to take you to the right place, and we're almost there.
And my last question is, what legacy or message do you want to leave for future generations?
Just study the church and get everything you can to do it, and do what you can, because that's where you're going to be pretty quick. And if you die, you'll be on the other side, and you'll be very much alive. You know, it's if I'd probably tell them a lot of things, because I've been in situations where I've actually seen people who are on the other side. I had that happen to me when I was young, and it didn't make a lot of sense at the time, except it made me do a little more for my mother. because I was actually knocked out. I was dead from electricity because, like I said, I told you I've done a lot of things with experimentation, and I had my own radios and stuff when I was in 6th grade, and I actually was electrocuted.
Oh wow.
And I knew I was dead. I knew I was there. I knew I was gonna would bother my mother, and I got a chance to take the choice of moving through or being what would you call it? Having my life returned. And I chose to have my life returned because of my mother. That's when I was in high school. Not high school. So and that was, I've had a lot of dumb things happen.
Sounds like you had people looking out for you on the other side, though.
Well, yes. In fact, my mother has a mother. My mother, I actually. Was called a couple of times. That's what that later in my life. I called a couple of times, and she told me that my dad had come to her and said that he could not take her at that time, but the time would come when they would be joined. And we went through that twice, and she was mad each time. But then she did. She went. She passed out, and died. She actually has appeared to some of our family to help them when they were young. Anyway, I know how that works.
Well, it sounds like you've had quite the life, the experiences.